Oh, hello. It's Mark Attwood here. It's the Mark Attwood Show. Adventures of the Cosmic Soup. Have you read this? It's good, isn't it? This is good as well. Have you read this? I spend a lot of time making things in the kitchen these days. Been busy though. Been very busy. Hope you're doing well. It's currently the 11th of the 11th. It's a lot of ones. Most of you watching know what that means, so I'm not going to bother explaining it. Right. So what have I been up to? Well, if you look at my X count here, you'll see that I've been working on a new magnesium product. Magnesium. Everybody's missing magnesium. I'm not happy with most of the magnesiums in the world, so I decided to make one. And this one is infused with the healing frequency of 174 hertz. It's got DMSO to make sure that it gets absorbed into the body. It's made with the purest magnesium on the planet, and that will be out soon. If you want to go and have a look at what else we've got, go to live5dhealth.com/shop, and you can see all the other things we've got there. But that will be coming out soon. You have to register to use the shop, so because it's a private members association. So if you want to know when that's coming out, because it really is world class and it will be very reasonable as well, then do that. What else have I been up to? There is something else. Yes, that's right. I'm launching a book soon, along with Abby. And I'm trying to find the page for it, and I can't find it. That would be a typical. Oh yeah, I've got it here. So yeah, I've there was a book I reviewed last year called "Red Pilling in a Clown World" by Charles Foxtrot, and it was a very funny, poignant memoir of the last few years, written by an awakening soul, shall we put it, who uses the pseudonym Charles Foxtrot, and he got in touch with me and asked me if I'd write the foreword for his new book. And I said, not only will I write the foreword, I think we should publish it. And that is coming out probably this week. And it's called, let me find it. Here it is. It's called Why Nothing Can Stop What's Coming. And yes, that's the number 17 in alphabetical. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say you can't even say a letter on YouTube. You know what I mean? So, that's going to be very interesting. It's a great book. It really is a great book. So look out for that. And it's a good one for you to share with people that have no idea. It's amazing how many people have no idea what Q is. And I know there's going to be people, oh, you Q-tard. You're just waiting for say, shut up. No, I'm not. Q is way too interesting to not talk about and not publish in book form instead of just videos on the internet. So that's why I'm doing that. We're just wrapping that. I've been up since 4 a.m. working on that, actually. So if I'm a little bit drowsy today, that's why. What else? The future. Everybody's obsessed with the future, aren't they? Future proves the past. Yeah. I'm kind of not. I'm kind of like, the way I see it is it's going to unfold. We're the creators. It's fun predicting what's going to happen, but I try not to predict things. We have just been through a so it's like, well, I'm an apocalypse optimist. Occasionally I like to dip into it, but for me, it reminds me of 1975 in a village in Northamptonshire. There's a little boy who creeps upstairs when his parents have popped out to the pub, and he opens the wardrobe and he finds a load of presents on December the 24th, and he has a little look. And then the next day, his day is ruined, and he's crying his eyes out because there's no extra presents. There's only the ones that we already knew were coming. So I don't know whether you should actually know what's coming, but I know a lot of people do want to know what's coming. And one of the tools for doing that is astrology. But Mark, you don't bother with astrologists. Yes, I do, actually. I've had 2 astrology readings in the last month alone. One was with Laura Eisenhower, and the other one is with my next guest. Please welcome the lovely Anna Isabel. Hello.
Hi, Mark. Hi. Hello, everyone.
How's it going?
Very well. Funny you
Right.
should be talking about the future.
Oh, go on. Why?
Well, see, I think that this is a misconception where astrology is concerned.
Good.
Um,
Put me straight
because
in the first 5 minutes. I like it.
because yes, it can be a tool for divination, and there are many astrologers who will use that for that purpose. But I think you'll find that there are equally, and if not more, astrologers who don't use it for that purpose, and I'm one of them. So I am what is known as a psychological astrologer. And what that means is that I use it to help people understand themselves, the people around them better. And the same tool that you would be using to look into the future, I don't use it as a fortune telling device. I use it to help people understand the circumstances that they are currently involved in. And yes, a time frame for when a resolution might be found. But the crucial bit is to get a sense of an understanding as to why they're going through what they're going through, how that links to patterns that have been set up in the past, so that they can actually begin to make the links and break free from patterns that they feel trapped in.
Well, that is the big problem, isn't it? We're kind of locked into patterns, repeating patterns, loops, repeating lessons, soul journey, soul trap, blah, 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 blah. So it really helps to know.
Absolutely. So if you look at a chart, you can begin to see where the present was created in the past. So what are the beliefs that we are holding that have shaped our present? And how is it that by shifting perspective and looking at things from different angles, we might be able to improve on what's happening or bring some wisdom into what's happening so that we can actually be free to create something new and something different. So far from seeing astrology as very prescriptive, what this is a mirror that helps us reflect on who we are, how we got to where we are, and then see the possibilities. Another way of looking at it is to see what are the ingredients that are sitting in the kitchen cupboard and what can we do with them.
I like it. I'm a big fan of cooking analogies, so thank you for that.
Well, you know, I also spend a lot of time in the kitchen like you.
Yeah. I often say, anything in life is like Chinese cookery is the best analogy for me. You got to chop all the vegetables before you put the heat on, otherwise you're in big. Not that they eat vegetables anymore, but you've got to get it's all in the preparation.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically. Otherwise, you burn everything.
Or you forget one of the ingredients.
Yeah, that's happened. Yep. I think that sums up most people's lives. I forgot the salt.
Exactly. And I think that that's why the chart is so lovely, is because it reminds you of the things that you've forgotten too.
Well, that's easily done as well. But I don't know about you, but in the last 5 years, I'm getting constant memories popping up, some good, some bad, working through them and evolving. It all feels like evolution. But I did find the reading that you did with me a couple of weeks ago to be very, I suppose the word is calming. It's like, oh, yeah, yeah. And it's like you get confirmations and it gives you confidence as well. That's what I found lovely about that reading.
Do you know, that is absolutely the best thing about it, is that very often I'm not telling people things that they don't already know. It's just that they need to hear it. And they find it incredibly reassuring that their birth chart is showing that. So where they're thinking, oh, maybe, this is what I'd really like to do, but I'm not sure that I can, to hear somebody else say, I see you doing this. And they say to me, oh, I was thinking about that. And suddenly there's this confirmation and it just lifts their confidence. I was a few months ago, I did a reading for a lovely lady in Mexico. And I I said to her, I could really see you being a marine biologist. Not words I have ever used for anybody else, I have to add. And she said, that was what I studied, but I'm not doing it. And I miss it. It's those moments, and they happen all the time when I'm working with clients. Those moments are just so special because that light or that flame that's in there suddenly just got brighter, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. And you told me before we went on air how to describe you, and now I've completely lost track. There were 3 things. Do you want to just tell everybody what they are again?
Well, if you've been up since 4 a.m, I think I'm not surprised.
I have, yeah. I'm doing my best.
So I am, as I've said, a psychological astrologer. That is one of the tools that I use. The other is that I'm an analytical hypnotherapist, which means the other side of my work is helping people to also track back to where beliefs that are creating problems in their lives began, and to help them then to reshape those beliefs, to gain insights into them. Because what people are experiencing is belief systems that were formed when they were children, often pre-age of 7, because that's when we were at our most impressionable. And when we're very young, we're trying to figure the world out. So I'll give you a little example. I was sitting at a train station one autumn, a few years back, and it was one of those train stations where there's a kind of indoor area. They've created an indoor area where you could wait for the train on the platform. And the door was left open.
Yes, I'm here. I'm just
Sorry.
making you bigger on the screen. I'm just making you.
So
It's for the viewers.
the door was wide open, and the wind had been blowing leaves in. And so there were leaves all over the waiting area. And there was a little girl there, maybe 4 years old. And she was looking at her mother very indignantly. And she was saying, "Who did this? Who brought all of these leaves in?" And her mother was ignoring her. And she kept insisting. She wanted to know very, very much who it was that was actually responsible for the mess on the floor. And I was thinking, I wish her mom would just answer her question. But the reason I'm sharing this story is because what that little girl was doing is she was trying to figure things out. In her life, very clearly, she often heard things like, "Who did this? Who made this mess?" And somebody had to be accountable. That's the rules by which she lives. Now she arrives in the big wide world, waiting for a train in a waiting area, and there are leaves everywhere. It's clearly messy. She wants to figure it out. But nobody is giving her the right information. Like, okay, so the wind has blown the leaves in, and nobody is at fault here. She needed that information. And that's exactly what we're like, all of us at that age. We are trying to figure the rules out so that we don't get in trouble, so that we feel valued, that we feel heard. Because that's the aim. The aim is to be validated, to feel loved. And so we're working out what the rules are to give us that. When we don't get that information, we fill in the gaps. And sometimes the gaps are incorrect. Other times we are given information that is not positive, not useful, not helpful. So it leaves us very much on our own. So when I'm working with my clients, the idea is to bring in that missing information that helps them to see the events differently so that they can feel differently. It's a very delicate process. It's not a one session event very often. It's, as they say, the peeling of the oven, the peeling of the onion.
I've never tried to peel an oven. I got burn my fingers.
Yes, I think that might be what's happening there. So when we're working in that way, what we're doing is we're also healing shadows, because part of the compensation strategies that we develop to protect ourselves are the very thing that create problems. We might be too defensive. We might not be assertive enough. There's all sorts of strategies that we might develop. And so that creates shadows. And very often, these are feelings that are also very suppressed. And feelings that are suppressed are like rubbish in the cupboard. It's going to stink. And at some point, you're going to get the fumes coming out of it.
Yeah.
And you need a good clear out. So you need to have the courage to open that cupboard. And that's why I also call myself a shadow healer.
Does that mean you used to work with Cliff Richard? No. That's a terrible joke. I couldn't think of the guitarist name. What was his name? Anyway, that's irrelevant. There's a lot of things to unpack here. So I learned this. I mean, I've employed hundreds of people over my time, and one of my favorite things would be to get them into my office and sit down and go, "How's it going?" And they go, "No, yes, great, it's great." And then I go, "You just said no." They go, "No, I didn't." I go, "Yes, you did. Do you want me to play it back to you?" And then they'd be amazed that they didn't even know they'd said it. And I said, "You're saying yes to me because I'm your boss, but you're saying no. Something inside you is saying no, and I need to know what that is, because that's the problem." And there's the other thing, people, because school has done that to people, but parents do, and all that stuff before 7 creates that. And so many people, and it screws everything up, because people, it destroys communication, which is why I think this Great Awakening, which is what I prefer to call it, is taking a long time, because it just takes so long to get through these barriers, doesn't it? And the barriers are protective barriers that people are just not aware of. They're not even aware they've got them. So, if you can find a way of spotting them, and astrology is obviously a great tool for that, for reminding people of the positive aspects, then you can make the whole world work better, basically, because you can get your information across. And I found that as a communicator, it's repetition. I mean, that's what they use against us. Repetition, education. Jesus. I mean, that's what they do. And once you see through it, then you can start. But to see through it, you have to kind of break it down in your own self. I mean, I think I have a very open mind, and if I get things wrong, I like to put I actually did it this morning. I sent an email. I sent a message to someone saying, "You were right. I was wrong. Sorry." I tried to own up to it as soon as possible. But most people don't, because they're still protecting themselves. They're protecting that inner child. They're hiding from some, their mother putting them down, or their father putting them down, or worse. And it's a lifetime's work for a lot of people, isn't it? And it just means that we're so easy to control. But if people understood how vastly inefficient it makes the human race, their minds would be blown. And I was just, while you were talking, I was looking up something I've never talked about on this show, which is the Taguchi method, right? Which is a Japanese professor in the 1950s or 60s worked out a way of massively increasing manufacturing output and increasing productivity by looking at every single process in a manufacturing plant. What's that got to do with astrology, Mark? Well, you'll get there in a minute. So these little points within the manufacturing process, he said, well, if you improve this one by 1%, this one by 2%, this one by 0.5%, by the time you get to the other end, you've got something that's exponentially more productive. And the issue with humanity is that, well, there's a lot of issues. I mean, how long have we got? But, and I won't ramble too long because I want to get back to you. But what flew through my head was so many of the processes that people are involved in their working daily life are based on assumptions, and also based on doing what they like doing. So when you just say clear out the cupboard, I was laughing, because so many people just don't want to do that. They don't want to do it in their actual life, which is representative of what's going on in their own life, you know. And assumption is the mother of all ups, right? This is something I say to my kids at least 3 times a week. You know, that's a belief, that's an assumption. You got to break it down. What's actually going on here? And it's fantastic to have these tools available to help us do that. And you must get it must be very fulfilling helping people work with their shadows, Anna.
I absolutely adore my work.
Yeah, I know.
And in the last 5 years, I've grown to value it even more.
Well, I was going to ask you that next. The last 5 years.
The reason I value it more than ever is because there's nothing like seeing humanity being abused and attacked and deceived, like making me realize how much I actually care for other human beings and the world that I live in, nature, because all of it, everything I have ever loved has been under attack.
Yep.
And so that's made me realize how much I love humanity and how much I love this world we're in. It's actually hard to speak without getting quite a bit teary with emotion. So it's made me much more passionate even than I already was, which is hard to imagine, about what I do, because for every person I and others like me help to clear out the cupboard, it means that they are much less prone or open to manipulation. And I think that's really important, because all of my working life, my aim has been to empower people and to help them to fulfill their dreams, their purpose. And so now that it's very clear that there are people out there who want to stop us from getting big and who want us to be not just small, but tiny, irrelevant, or actually not exist at all, what I want to do becomes even more important, because what I want to see is people not reclaiming their freedom. No, because your freedom is yours. You don't reclaim it. Nobody takes it away from you. But what is true is if you fail to see how strong and how precious you are and how much you have to offer, then you will believe that you are irrelevant and small, and you will feel trapped. It's not that freedom's been taken away from you. It's that you don't know that you've got it. The cage door is open, but you have to understand that it's open and that it's good to fly out. And I think that that's really, really important.
It's interesting you brought that up, because when I was ranting and raving 10 years ago online about stuff, you know, New World Order and everything else, and ritual abuse in particular, I got told by somebody, stop doing that, Mark. And I was like, what do you mean stop doing it? Just stop doing it. This is an inside job. You need to stop going on about that stuff. And for me, I was always like, I know it's an inside job, but if the other people don't know this stuff going on and I know it's going on, I need to tell them, because they don't know. It's like, and it's the allegory of the cage, isn't it? Of the cave, you know, Plato's allegory of the cave. Have you ever read that? You know what I'm talking about. You do. You know the one with there's a great, if you guys watching this, I posted this about 5 years ago. There's a clay motion version of that on YouTube somewhere. Find it. It's brilliant, and show it to everybody that you can think of, because it's just totally true. You know, you're the guy outside going, no, there's a fucking cave in there, and everybody thinks, and he comes back in and he goes, it's all sunshine outside and birds and trees and everything. They kill him. You know, that's what it's been like. It's exactly what it's been like. It's quite hard being enlightened to any degree in this world. You know, I was actually saying this morning, is it? I was in the car and I was like, is it worth saving everybody? Is it really? Is it? Of course, I think it is, but it's like sometimes you go because it's such an uphill struggle. But you got to look. I look at it like a game. It's okay, that didn't work, that didn't work, that worked, and then we're getting them closer. But they have to ultimately, with your work, if it's the same with healing, with the healing center that we've got, it's like if they don't know why they need to heal, it until they do, and like often that means they're on their knees before they come to you, right? So presumably you get people coming to you when they're at their wits' end before
Yeah.
they actually decide, oh, I need help. Is that the way it is, or do you get people casually going, yeah, I'll have a reading just to see? I mean, how
Sometimes, but most people who come to me either for therapy or for astrology or for both, it's because they're, that rubbish that's been stinking in the cupboard.
Yeah, it
It's
starts to
got
smell too
so
bad.
bad. It's got so bad. They really can't stand it anymore. Um, in fact, that reminds me, when I was training as a hypnotherapist, I remember one of my teachers saying, people generally have to get to a point where they're really uncomfortable before they want to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's an understatement. I think it is something of human nature that we have to be almost in agony before we're going to do something new or want to change. So it's fear. There's so much fear that holds us back. And the fear is very often the fear of experiencing the original hurt again.
Yeah.
So, and, although a lot of my work as a hypnotherapist involves regression, it doesn't always, because there are times when revisiting that event is too much.
I know.
And you can tell because the person just isn't going to go there. Their subconscious is throwing up all sorts of things to resist it. So it's much better to find a different way of dealing with that, which is an equally delicate process, perhaps slower, but it's important, because the aim is to build the person up, and they're just not strong enough to go there. They're totally defeated at this point. They can't go there. So we have to find a different way of working.
Well, I can vouch for that because I've been through it. I've been through so much myself that I'm getting flashbacks. I'm getting flashbacks to being with Julie Reed when I was at this healing center, and I said, yeah, book me in. And I came, and she kept popping her head around the door. Are you coming for a healing? And I was like, I'm just doing this email. Are you coming for a healing? Yeah, I've just got to do this. And she said, why have you come here? And I went, for a healing. She goes, but you're just emailing everybody. What are you doing? And eventually I went, okay, yeah, caught. Because I was avoiding it. I know what I was totally avoiding it. And there was a time in the woods in Watford when I did a breathing exercise with Rebecca Dennis, I think it was. It was a breathing workshop. And that was the most powerful thing I ever did. And I didn't want to go. And I had 2 kids with me. And I said, oh, I'm booked into this breathing workshop. Oh, I'm a bit late. And then my daughter said, Dad, are you booked? Go. So I went, turned up into this tent. It was a bit new agey, but it was brilliant. And I walked in and everybody looked at me like the first day at school. And I was there for 4 hours, I think. I was there for 2 hours after everybody had gone and had their lunch, crying like a baby. And I think, and that's my message to anybody watching this, is like, just throw yourself into, one message I've had over the years is, which one works? Well, it's kind of like, do all of them, go whatever one calls you, do it. And the one that's the hardest, do that one first, because that's the one you need, isn't it?
It is. It is. And that is very true. I think people, it's in the last 5 years, there's been a lot of judgment on the side of those of us who can see what's happening. and, you know, looking at other people. And I think it's because of fear, because we know that if everybody just saw what we saw, this would all stop immediately. And so we desperately want to wake everyone up, to let everybody see. And it reminds me of the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but just a short version of it. He has a traumatic experience whilst he's at sea, and then subsequently, years afterwards, it's all he talks about. He just, you know, and everybody's going, well, what's this mad sailor on about? This albatross that was killed, and nobody gets it, because they don't see what he saw, and they don't actually understand where he's coming from. And I think I've really been reminded of that a lot in the last 5 years, as I watch everybody going, can't you see? Can't you see? Because I think everyone's suffering from post-traumatic stress. Those who can and those who can't. Those who can't don't know why. Those who can do. And actually, the biggest stress that they're suffering from in terms of post-traumatic stress disorder is remembering what it was like to not believe by anybody, to feel under threat by those who didn't see. So this is an incredibly divisive time. And I think what we really need to understand is that we can't save anybody. When I'm working, I'm certainly not saving anyone. What I'm doing is I'm helping my clients go on a journey. You know, in shamanic traditions, they would have called it a journey, but it's a journey into themselves, to help them make sense of the pain that they have been in, so that they don't feel it anymore. But I'm not saving anyone. And I think we need to remember, it is not for us to save anyone. And if many people saw the truth, all of the truth, all at once, it would be incredibly destructive. So what we need to do is lead by example and live the lives that we need to be living in freedom. And as people begin to see, something's not right, then they will start asking questions. And then we can start gently getting them out, helping them see the cage doors open and helping them feel confident to fly. But it's not going to work if we impose our beliefs. And if we take it that beliefs shape reality, then we're living according to, we were responding to a reality, an interpretation of events, and so are they. We are living in two different realities at the same time. So we have to allow them to start asking the questions that are going to make them see things they can't see at the moment, and then gently help them create a bridge so that we can begin to move together again.
That's almost exactly what I wrote in the foreword to the book that I just showed everybody half an hour ago. And I had to learn the hard way, because I in all my relationships for years, I had white knight syndrome. You heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
I was on my big white horse. I'll save you. No, it's taken me a long time. That's one of the lessons that just keeps coming back for me. And opening a healing center has been the ultimate in that for me. It's so interesting. Now, I wanted to tell people about, you're teaching people how to do astrology, right?
I am teaching people how to do astrology.
Let's talk about that for a second then, because that's that. I know there it is. There's a link on there. Anna's doing an astrology course, and you do a lot of events and stuff on that page, lifeastrology.com/events. There's lots of information. You talk and I'll find this website.
Okay, so I, as people have probably already gathered, am deeply passionate about using astrology to help everyone understand themselves better, see what's lurking, have a peek at what's lurking under the cupboard in as non-threatening a way as possible, looking and understanding at the resources that exist within each and every one of us to open the cupboard and deal with what's in there. And so I've been teaching astrology for years now. My students, many of them are now doing astrology themselves professionally. And others are just using it in their work. Many of them are therapists who find it an incredible tool. Others are just using it if they're in business or they're entering new partnerships to help understand the people they're working with. And all of them are using it to understand themselves and their families, and also to make sense of what is happening in their lives at any given moment. So this is the first module on the 29th of November, is the first module of an introduction to the 12 signs and the planets. We are looking at, as I say, the 12 signs and the first 5 planets. And in astrology, we would include the sun and moon as planets because it meant what wanders in the sky. And from our perspective, the sun wanders and so does the moon. So it's looking at the symbolism behind each of them and which aspect of the personality they provide us with information on. So for instance, the sun provides us with information about our identity and also our relationships with our fathers. How good were they at encouraging us to be ourselves? How good were they at encouraging us to go out into the world and be confident? So that's what the sun represents. And then the moon represents how we were nurtured and how we deal with feelings as a result of that nurturing. And of course, that brings us to mum and what kind of mothering did we have? And then we look at Mercury, which is all about different learning styles, different communication styles. We look at Venus, which is about what we value and how that influences the way we relate to others. And then we look at Mars, which is about how we assert ourselves in the world or not. Are we bombastic, defensive, prickly? Are we
All of the above.
hiding in the hiding from everything? And how do we, begin to be much more assertive? What is it that how is it that being assertive or non-assertive, what implications are there for the ability to compete, for example? Going for job interviews, can we compete? Do we go to pieces? So there are lots of implications. So we begin by looking at these 5 parts of the chart because they are very much about the personality. And then in the next module, which is, if people wish to continue, then the next module, we're looking at other parts of the chart, which would be Saturn, Jupiter, Chiron, and other areas, so that we begin to see how we as individuals deal with society, whether it's through our beliefs, that would be Jupiter, Saturn in terms of our relationship with authority, Chiron, basically answering the question, where does it hurt? And then later, the third module, we're looking at the social trends that also influenced how the beliefs that are within us, So that would be by looking at more social trends through planets like Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So that's the whole of the introduction. But this bit beginning on the 29th, we're looking at the core personality and the planets.
And I noticed it starts at 9 a.m. UK time. Is that right?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Well, I've got a lot of listeners in Australia and America and stuff like that. Do you record these things as well?
I do record them. I absolutely do. But if you are in America and you are in Australia and you are interested in learning, but this time zone is just not friendly, do let me know anyway, because if there's enough of you, we can start something just for you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's the website, lifeastrology.com/events. You just email Anna. Basically, there's a form, or you can just email her and sort that. That'd be great. I actually want to do it.
Well, just do it.
I don't know. I think I should. I should. I kind of skirt around things like this. There's two things I skirt around: astrology and yoga. Two things I probably need to know more about.
I think you need yoga for the stillness.
Yeah, I know, but I wouldn't get anything done, so I don't do it.
But you see, the stillness is what gives you the energy to get everything done.
I get everything done anyway. See, I'm avoiding yoga. Look at that. It's because I tell you what it is. It's because it really hurts when I stretch the back of my legs, and I don't want to go there. But that's too much information, isn't it? Yes. So there's going to be people watching this going, right, astrology. Then, okay, we don't do it to read the future, but do you use it for yourself, or do you? I mean, you've got a YouTube channel. I'll put a link below the video so people can go and catch up with you. But Anna interviewed me a few weeks. I was going to put it up on my channel. I haven't had time, but go and watch that if you want. It was really nice. Do you use any of these skills yourself, just to sort of, what's your view, considering all your skills, on where we're going, where we're at? Because there's a lot of people watch shows like mine who want to know this, and I understand why. That's why the tarot card readers get billions of views, because people want to know what's going to happen. So I've got to ask you that. It'd be remiss not to.
I think we're at a crossroads. And see, astrology, people think that it's, very definitive and it's saying definitely this, definitely that. So what I'm going to tell you is we're at a crossroads, because a lot of people will be talking about the beginning of the Aquarian age. But more immediately, we have Pluto that's just entered Aquarius in the last year, started about a year and a half ago. We have Uranus that this year has just entered Gemini. Going back into Taurus for a bit, but it's just entered Gemini. We have Neptune that's also just entered Aries, going back into Pisces for a bit, but coming back into Aries. So in other words, when I'm saying just entered, this is a period of great change, because the planets that I'm talking about stay in signs for a long time. So Pluto could be in a sign around 20 years or so. Uranus, typically it's about 7. Neptune, typically about 15. I say typically because things do vary a bit. However, the change, we can look at it as being incredibly promising. And we can also use it and see that it's terrifying. So let me just elaborate on this. Aquarius is a sign about humanity. It's a sign that is about coming together in community. It's a sign that is very, and I'm going to put this in inverted commas, progressive. And I have to put it in inverted commas because that word in many people's minds has become very dirty. So what I mean by progressive is that it's about the evolution of humanity. Now, you can see that there's going to be shadows to this. Those who are in the freedom movement might be very excited because they're part of building new communities and wanting to create a more positive society that is totally decentralized. But then you can say, well, if it's all about communities, how do we avoid communism? And that would be the shadow side of Aquarius, a totally centralized system that deprives everyone of freedom. But that would be a corruption of Aquarius, because its ideal really is to create a choir where individual voices are singing in harmony. That's what we want with Aquarius. Now, Pluto is god of the underworld, and he takes us to extremes. When whatever he touches always goes to extremes. So the extreme, also to do with Aquarius, is technology, the extremes of technology that would be AI, or what many Star Trek viewers would recognize as Borg. In other words, no individuality, because you're all plugged into a system, the hive, that tells you what to think, how to think, what to think, and what to do, and when and where. That's a nightmare, and it is not what Aquarius is about. So Pluto being here, Pluto always brings what's in what has been really festering in the darkness to light. And it's very scary, because a lot of people didn't even know that it was possible to have all of this technology, that we had all of this technology. And there's technology that we don't know about that may yet be revealed. How are we going to use that? And who's got this technology? This is the challenge that we're going to have to be sorting out whilst Pluto is in Aquarius. So on the one hand, it's incredibly hopeful, but it's up to us to push for that human, decentralized thing that we're looking for. Uranus going into Gemini, well, Uranus is very closely linked with Aquarius. In astrology language, we say it rules Aquarius. So it means it has an affinity with Aquarius. It's whatever Uranus touches brings revolution, for better or for worse. So it's been in Taurus for the last 7 years. And Taurus is a sign that we associate with everything that's nature, from farming to your body to everything else. Uranus comes along and Uranus says, I think we can do better than nature. How about we start plugging you into computers? How about we start putting chips into you? How about we don't do farming at all and we just give you artificial food that's been created? It'll be all right. So it's, and biology, forget that. That's just far too restricting. Women, you don't want to get pregnant and have babies. Let's just have incubators instead. So we've had all of this in the last 7 years, and I think people are reeling and they're thinking, no thanks. Most people are thinking no thanks, which is why we have the wonderful bowler hat farmer, Mark Byford, who is very active in helping to create food hubs. I know my local farmer, if I don't reserve eggs from him because they're pasture fed and they are the most amazing eggs, he runs out. And I've just discovered that the local dairy that I also rely on, same pasture fed cows, absolutely wonderful milk. I've now learned I'm going to have to reserve milk with him as well. Why suddenly? Is because it's people are understanding what's at stake, and they're voting with their feet, they're voting with their wallets. So that was been the product of Uranus in Taurus. Now we're going into Uranus in Gemini, and Gemini is also it's about communication and education. And you can already see the revolution that's being imposed on us as regards restricting cars, etc. And dictating what kind of cars we're going to have. The battle's just beginning now. The backlash is just beginning as Uranus is going into Gemini. Free speech, the whole lot. There is a revolution being imposed on us in all of these different areas. How are you going to react to this? Are you going to create your own revolution by taking your children out of school and home educating them and creating home education hubs? Are you going to say, do you know what? Keep your new cars. They're not really that great. I'm going to have my 15-year-old car and look after it because that technology is entrapment. What are you going to do about electric vehicles? What are you? So it's up to us. The beauty of Pluto in Aquarius is that it's an opportunity for us to unite on our terms rather than an imposed hive mentality. So, and I haven't even talked about Neptune in Aries. So you can, okay. So Neptune in Pisces in the last, well, since 2012, when it went into Pisces, I got very excited. I thought, oh, brilliant. We're going to become more sensitive to other people. We're going to value emotional intelligence more. We're going to suddenly understand more about mental health. Yes, all of that did happen to the point where it became weaponized. And so now nobody knows what's real. Nobody knows what's not real. We are in a constant state of confusion. And it's very tricky. But here's the thing. This confusion is happening because we are experiencing a readjustment of what we perceive to be reality. So where we believe the world was one thing, we're waking up to a different world, and we're seeing that the world is not what we thought it was. And so what that leads to is a state of confusion. We're being told that what is common sense is now an ism in one way or another. So where do we stand on this? This fog is going to potentially clear up more in the next year or so. But that's because people are going to be, I think, idealizing more of the Aries sign traits, which would be being truthful.
That's me. I'm Aries.
I know. And there you are. This is why you were this voice in the wilderness, because Aries can't tell a lie to save its life.
Well, I've told a few porkies in my time, but they come out in the wash very quickly.
Exactly.
And I can't do it now, and it's annoying. And I was actually laughing earlier because right earlier on you were talking about astrology and I use it as an excuse for being a bombastic, annoying son of a bitch sometimes. And while I'm an Aries, just put up with it.
Well, you are. It doesn't deprive you of responsibility, though.
All right. Been told off though.
And that's the other thing about Aries. It's personal responsibility too, because as we learn to stand in our truth and stand in our sovereignty, it means that we have to have the courage to be responsible for ourselves as well.
You know what? This is weird. I was saying this 2 hours ago. I was like, I love being a big kid, and now I've got to be everybody's daddy, and it's like it's too much responsibility. It's like,
well, you have to give yourself time to play as an Aries.
I want to go out and play.
Yeah, you have to, because you'll always be the first sign, and there is the charm of Aries is exactly that. So you don't want to get too serious.
No, I know.
But what you said about apologizing when you're wrong is an example of taking responsibility.
I know, I'm getting there.
And I think that that's the thing. So as Neptune goes into Aries, we aim to have a belief system that is centered on these core values of courage and honesty and truth, and actually to be meek, and not in the way that people now perceive the word to be, but meek as in
different word, isn't it? It's the people get that wrong. Yeah.
the correct meaning of the word, which means being strong and powerful and having your sword, but just keep it sheathed. Know when to use your sword. The shadow
Wise,
side of this,
wise words.
the shadow side of this is division and war, the idealization of my beliefs at the expense of yours and going to battle over them. So we have to make a choice. We have to learn how to use that sword to cut through lies without causing destruction and harm. That's the challenge for Neptune and Aries. So you see, when you ask where are we going, it's up to each and every one of us. I think ultimately we are going to good places because I still, despite everything, do have faith in humanity. Not in some people, but in humanity as a whole.
I don't think they're people.
Well, there you are. That's another thought.
They can't be. I mean, I've
You
met all
know,
these amazing humans that love the world, love life, want to get on, want to have fun, want to be prosperous, etc. And these arseholes come along and they put on a uniform, or they're bullying kids in schools, or they're injecting people with certain things. And you're like, they can't be human. They can't. They just can't be, because how could a human do any of that?
we can never, ever, those of us who are are not suffering from any kind of psychopathy, understand what is going through their heads. We know
Demon.
it's not good,
Yeah.
and we know we don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
That's as much as we can know. And it hurts like hell to witness the suffering that's being perpetrated upon all of us. So we must work to transcend those that those feelings that would lead to further destruction, and ultimately be playing straight into their hands.
You got to
We
cuddle them.
we can't. I don't know about that.
No, I've tried. I've tried. I've tried. I've offered hugs to people that hate me, and they just don't return my calls. I don't know what that's about.
I think that might be, how can I put this? That might be a breaching of boundaries.
They're breaching my boundaries. They stand outside
They
my healing
are.
center calling me a fascist. I'm like,
Yeah,
come for a hug. No,
yeah. So we can open the door, and we can send,
the door's open. Yeah,
we can try to be compassionate. This is our work. This is our work for all of us. We have to, I think, work with what we've got to create the best that we can. And you were talking about the interview I did with you. That is a different channel. It's called In the Light Growing Your Soul. And that's where the interview I did with you is. But the reason I started that channel, was to give everyone who is working to bring light into the world by all of their different ways, the opportunity to come on and talk about it. And yesterday I was interviewing a man who is a Buddhist, and he told this, in his book he tells this extraordinary folk story. I think it's a Buddhist folk story, and I'm just going to not do it justice at all, but I'm going to share bits of it because
go on.
I think it's just perfect. So it's the story of a princess, and the princess is now of marrying age, and she is told by her father she's going to have to marry, and she says, but I don't want to. I really don't want to. So he punishes her. He punishes her by disowning her and throwing her into the kitchens with all the staff. So she has to do all of this arduous work. But, instead of feeling sorry for herself and hating her father and hating the world, she actually begins to forge friendships, and she loves learning about cooking, and she's having a lovely time. And when her father hears about this, he's furious. She's not meant to be having a good time. So he sends her into the stables to really do the mucky work. And she discovers that she loves animals, and she's having a lovely time, with the people working in the stables. She's able to forge good friendships and relationships with the animals too. So he's really not happy about this. And it continues. It continues. The whole thing continues. Every time he discovers that, instead of being miserable and saying, "Daddy, I want to come home, please. I will marry whoever you want me to," she's actually having a really lovely time. So he ends up sending her to a hospice. And so she's working with the dying, and now she's taking her heart is opening, and she's even more compassionate than she was before. And so she's working with love to help alleviate and help them, go on to the next stage of their soul's journey. At this point, he's really had enough. So he has her condemned to death, and she's going to be beheaded. And but then, as she's about to be beheaded,
What?
her light is so bright that the executioner fails to chop off her head. And I'm going to leave this on a cliffhanger because the story goes on. But the point of the story is, this is our challenge, is as we see all of this horrible stuff happening and we feel that pain within us, to use that to have compassion for others and to work to create as much beauty and as much love and unity in the world as possible. That's the moral of the story, and I think it's one that I am happy to work towards, and I hope inspiring others to do the same.
Well, it's interesting you said unity, because there was Alex Lazaroff was here at the weekend, and he had a hat on that said unity. And just trying to find it. Where is it? Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I wrote a poem called Unity 4 years ago. Where is it? Come on.
See, you're a pioneer. This is the airy side of you, a pioneer.
Yeah, well, you know what they say about pioneers? They get shot in the back. Look,
they do, but they also
unity.
don't.
Unity.
There it is. Perfect. In
There
a time in which so much is
look,
being used.
Look, I get called a racist. Look at this. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
racist, isn't it? Yeah.
In a time when we're constantly, so much money and effort and energy is being spent on dividing us. Instead, let's do the opposite.
Well, good. That's a beautiful way to end this chat. And I'd like to hear the rest of that Buddhist story sometime, because they're always good. The Buddhist stories. It's like the Irish storytellers, the storytellers in Marrakesh I used to know. These stories all give us little lessons for life, and it's about time we bloody learnt them.
I agree. So if you learn astrology, you'll learn more stories too.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I know, exactly. It's one of those things. I see. I was never drawn to do it younger because I was too busy being dad and business and everything, and flying planes and that. But now I'm probably old enough to calm down and do it. Yeah, it is too interesting not to. And there's so many questions I've got. I want to talk to you about. I'm not going to do it now, but the 13 months in the year and what that does, and the missing star signs, and are the stars real? There's so many questions, but I think you've given a great account today, and I've loved that, because it's been nice and easy, because I'm too tired to do. So I've let you do all the talking, which is brilliant. And I'll do little bursts and go get another coffee, because I've got 3 more to do today. I can't believe that I woke up at 4 a.m. when I got 4 shows to do. But it's been lovely speaking to you again. And are we allowed to say where you are in the world or not? Because I don't want to give away your privacy in any way.
I am in England. I will say that.
No, that's fine.
And I can't say more because I'm transitioning from one part of England to another. So
You're transitioning. Don't do that. Don't do that on my show.
Only geographically.
Okay, good. That's all right then. You can
Only
do that.
Geographically.
You can do that. That's easy to undo if you move to the wrong place. Well, it's brilliant to speak to you, and thanks for coming on the show. And I'm going to put all the links for Anna's course, YouTube channels, and anything else you asked me to do underneath the video. Whatever you're doing today, keep smiling, do something you love, be kind to somebody, and don't sweat the small stuff. Thanks, Anna.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Bye.